Zoo Miami and especially friends of landscaping. Today we'll explore the botanically rich area that surrounds a couple of the most visited animals at the zoo, the Sumatran tiger and the Siamang monkeys. Both species have the primetime screen always with visitors. The tiger because it's a symbol of power and strength and kids love their stripes. There are believed to be less than 500 Sumatran tigers left in the wild, where they are found in forested areas on the island of Sumatra in Indonesia. And it has the most beautiful habitat in the zoo, a real palace. The Siamangs because are funny jumping around with their extra long arms that give them the ability to cover up to 10 feet in a single swing. And because they are loud. They seem to enjoy their loudness. Their throat sac inflates and the sound that comes out is unexpected and strong. A colony of artificial trees has been created to allow them to swing from branch to branch, hanging from two branches or sitting looking at the spectators. Okay, let's start walking the main path, going towards the tiger. First thing we find is a group of shrubs right in the middle of the path, next to a blue playing ground. The combination chosen is a good one that will never let you down, merging carefully yellows, reds and blues in a seemingly randomness. The yellow is provided by a variegated trinette, in Latin Schefflera arboricola, and some splashes coming from the beach buttercup flower, in Latin Ternera. The strong blue of the trumpets of the Mexican petunia, Latin Rolea simplex, provides the perfect contrast against that background. It may have some fungus seasonal problem that can be removed using appropriate chemicals, or just ignore it and eventually it would disappear. Here in Florida the Mexican petunia blooms all the year round and grows in extension year after year, keeping the typical height of about 2 feet. A red hibiscus completes the perfect triad. The hibiscus is a permanent guest in every Florida landscaping plan. Its lavish flowers are available in several colors and in 2 versions, simple and double flower, or flor pleno. It needs some care, especially against fungi and aphids, but it's worth the effort. Let's pass the scooters and keep going passing the bicycle rentals on the right. Just before the tiger's home we will find a corner with a group of plants that combines heights, textures and colors. The top is formed by a green canopy provided by the long, soft, light green-toned leaves of the traveler's tree, scientific name Raven Alameda gascariensis, and to dry, sober, quite muffled green fan-like leaves of the subtle palmetto group of native palm trees. The lower half is entrusted to a thicket of copperleaf shrubs, genus Acalifa, a very interesting genus. We will talk another day of the more popular varieties of copperleaf that have larger leaves. This variety here is pretty unusual but is perfect for providing an 8-foot-tall rounded volume, whose goal is to hide the individual leaves in favor of a blurred mass of an uncertain color. Looking close, each narrow leaf is a rainbow of colors. Looking from afar, it's a reddish misty mass. Actually, looking closer we will identify 2 varieties, the one in the background with a bit wider leaves. Every zoo visitor, especially the frequent visitors, run to this place to see if the tiger is at home, or rather if it's on the front yard and not at the back or inside the cave or the palace. But few will notice the rich variety of plants behind the wood fence. Across the tiger, the hedge for the Siamangs has been solved mostly with just one species, that is the star jasmine. Here we have like a samples menu of all that we will find around Zoo Miami, Nearigelias and bromeliads of several varieties and colors, dwarf fan-shaped leaves palm trees, ixoras, firecrackers, zaccaeas, wild coffee, ferns, dwarf fan leaves palm trees. Just before starting the tiger fence, at the end of it and also covering the cave-like tiger shelter, some groups of ornamental tall grass. Above our heads, and after a gumbo limbo used as a transition, 2 mid-sized live oak trees and 3 medium-sized exemplars of an unusual white flowering of the so-called orchid tree, Bauhinia bocheri, perhaps. and clinging on their branches some Vanda pseuirulescens, real orchids that if you're lucky you will be able to admire them in bloom. There is a rainbow shower tree as well at the end, but we have a better one we'll showcase in a minute. Let's walk around the Siamangs area on the left side towards the Action Center building. As said, the hedge is almost in its entirety made with star jasmine, a calm inspiring plant with small dark green leaves and white flowers scattered like the stars in the sky. To the left, a couple of yellow thickets made with a single species each flanking the fake anaconda. Closer to us a croton yellow-dotted, Codium variegatum, gold dust in full sun. We will be discovering more than 10 different varieties of croton plants along our walk in Zoo Miami. Across the fake snake, a thicket of variegated dronette, Latin Schefflera arboricola nana. A few steps further, around the artificial half-submerged elephants we spot several interesting specimens. The Sanchezia, also known as golden vein plant, is another option for adding yellow color to the garden. Less resilient than the croton and trinette, is not extensively used, and this full sun spot is not among the best placement for it. It's surrounded by some clumps of ornamental grass. Look up to admire again other orchids on the palm tree trunk. Next to the fake alligators, a rounded retention wall used as an occasional sitting has been beautified with a group of dwarf ixalis that flower almost all the year round and, as not to compete with them, a modest group of ornamental grass at the ground level. Past the happy hippos, a group of arcas. Contrary to what we should expect, the regular aricas are not much used here at Zoo Miami. They have of course pros like they are very good at forming tall hedges. With narrow green leaflets, they are very resilient in tropical climates. They keep growing by themselves with almost no need of feeding or irrigation, almost immune to insects or fungus. What are the cons? Mostly that they are shedding leaves continuously and having a funnel-like shape. Those leaves and dried inflorescences fall into the plant most of times and have to be removed by hand. And yet, it's a lovely palm tree forming colonies. At the ground level, the ferns benefit from the arcas-provided shade. Across the swimming buffaloes, a couple of ichi palms host some orchids and provide no much shade to the Enflorda sage below. Reaching the rhinos area, we'll find another group of yellow tree nets, aimed at contrasting with the green wall behind them, and a group of yellow flowering beach cup, providing ground-level volume to a mighty phoenix palm tree. Next to the green wall and behind a native palm leaves hut, an interesting combination to populate this area. It starts with a large colony of bromeliads at the lower level, followed by yellow tree nets, and a group of firecrackers with their hair-like leaves and a sprinkle of red tubular flowers. On the background a large developed ixora echoing the red flowers, and above, a good-sized pair of rainbow shower tree whose light-colored groups of flowers are better showcased by the strong green of the back wall. Let's divert just a little bit further to look at the shade garden across the road under a group of live oaks and palm trees, formed mostly by ferns with some scattered sister or tea plants, and philodendron, probably imperial red, a low-maintenance plant with large, oval, leathery leaves that have shades of dark red and green and that grow happily in shade areas. Some firecrackers here, I'm not sure they have been planted intentionally. The green background wall is a free-grown hedge of orange jasmine, with its little pleasantly scented white flowers. I'm not a fan of the bottle palm that to me look always a bit grotesque, with a fat trunk and some little leaves that look as struggling to survive. Nevertheless, you can see up close here a couple of them together with some other that look like oil palm trees, still young, and 3 subtle palmetto above a group of bromeliads. You know, when planting groups of plants that can be visually differentiated as individuals, we should always plant them on odd numbers, 3, 5, 7. Between this area and the noisy Siamangs, there is an interesting island full of green life. It starts low with a group of bromeliads to grow farther taller with two structurally diverse groups, one formed by again three native subtle palmetto and balancing them a colony of giant white bird of paradise. This plant is sometimes confused with traveler's palm because they look similar when young, but birds won't grow as big, don't form a palm-like trunk and produce the typical bird of paradise flowers, in this case, on white color. At the center of the island, several specimens of varied plants firebush, firespike, firecracker, etc. have been placed for the sake of variety in my opinion, too much variety. A second group of bromeliads with darker, reddish tone leaves echoes the first. Going around, a developed pink trumpet tree, another group of white bird of paradise, and in between, an unusual little tree, a desert cassia, Latin Cenopolyphylla, with little leaves and little yellow flowers well adapted to dry land. But the most remarkable of this island is a group of 5 cycads of the Revolida variety, also known as sago palms. They typically grow very slowly and live very long. This plant is a living fossil, dating back to prehistoric times. Because of their superficial resemblance, they are sometimes mistaken for palms or ferns, but they are not closely related to either group. The cycads are dioecious, that is, individual plants of a species are either male or female. Here, at least one of them is female and produces a huge pine cone, more spectacular than beautiful, I would say. In other areas of Zoo Miami we'll find 2 alternatives to the sago palm, the Dione spinulosum and the more popular Zamia, also known as cardboard palm. Let's go back towards the Tigers area around the Siamangs on the old air train side, to casually noticing the jasmine hedge and queen palm trees along the rim of the Siamangs habitat. The habitat itself has been solved apart from the concrete artificial trees, with some trees and wild grass. Around the inlet that acts as a kind of balcony across the old train station, we can look closely to a Hong Kong orchid tree of purple flowers, scientific name Bauhinia blakana, flanked by 2 groups of red flower peregrinus, in Latin, Jatropha interregima. That will be all for today. Next time we are going as far as Australia. See you then.